and I'm coming to you with my review of My Hero Academia, episode 19, The Boy Who Was Born with Everything. And this episode was very, almost eye-opening. We get to understand Todoroki a little bit more. We get to learn a little bit more about him as a person and why he acts the way he acts. And we get to see a little bit more of the interaction between Endeavor and All Might. And I think I'm going to start with the whole Todoroki thing because, you know, in the last episode, I cannot remember his name to save my life, was able to get a headband and that put Midori's team in 4th place, so he was able to rank, and now all 4 teams are going to be competing. Like, they're going to be competing individually with each other, which means there's 16 people, and it's going to eventually go, like, it goes in tiers, like 2 against 2 against 2, and it keeps going up until the last 2 people are fighting each other to determine the winner. So from the way they drew lots, it looks like Izuku and Todoroki are going to be fighting each other a lot sooner than they thought it was going to be because they're in the first bracket together. So they both have to win to be able to fight each other in the next round. And Todoroki pulled Izuku off to the side and was talking to him. He pretty much told him about his life. And he told him about, like, why he said he felt overpowered. He thought that Izuku was All Might's love child or something. It's just like, really? That's the thought that comes to your mind when you're trying to figure out how Izuku and All Might are connected to each other. And Izuku freaked out a little bit, which I don't blame him because that was really, like, off the wall. I wasn't expecting that in the slightest. I thought he was going to say something completely different, and then he asked if he was his love child. That's so freaking funny. But Izuku was like, no, I'm not his love child. It's not even like that, blah, blah, blah. And Todoroki was like, well, I know that you're not going to tell me anyways, but I'm going to tell you. He pretty much overpowered him, and he actually felt overpowered, which is why he started to use his fire side. But he made a promise to himself, a declaration to himself that he was never going to use the fire side of his body. And now we finally understand why, because he did mention it in this episode. Because originally, his father was a very, like, wealthy man, and with the first, like, generation, all of their quirks were very pure when it first, like, came about in the world that people had quirks. So, like, as it went on, some people would only marry someone to heighten their quirks so that way their child would get the most benefit from it. And of course there were people who married each other because they loved each other, and that might have weakened their quirk or changed it completely depending on what it was. But Endeavor was not one of those people. He married Todoroki's mom because he knew that it would strengthen his quirk. And his mom was it looked like she was very unhappy, and she was always crying. And she even told Todoroki that his fire side was very unsightly, and poured boiling water on his face, which explains the big scar on his face. It makes me feel like I'm watching Avatar The Last Airbender again with Izuku. Not Izuku, with Zuko and his burnt side. Why is it always on the left? Why is it always on the left? I don't understand. But anyways, so it explains why Todoroki has that scar on the fire side of his face. And it's just like, it makes me really sad that someone has to go through that. Why would you treat your child that way when the child has absolutely nothing to do with being born? But that's a whole nother story for a whole nother time. So Todoroki pretty much said that he is going to beat Izuku without even using the fire side of his body. He's only going to use his ice to show Endeavor that he doesn't need his quirk to be great. And Izuku has been doing a pretty freaking good job not using his fire and getting, like, up there in 1st place. So Todoroki is a very powerful person, and he has a lot of drive to be able to push himself to that point without even using half his power, which is freaking amazing. And then we get back to Endeavor. Like, Endeavor has so much hatred for All Might because All Might has forever been in the first slot, and Endeavor wants to be in that slot, but he'll always be like second fiddle to All Might. And this is why Todoroki was like, I have to beat you so that way I can surpass All Might, because if I don't surpass All Might, then I'm pretty much just as bad as my father, which is intense. Like, that's a lot to like just throw out on us like in one episode. But it looks like this the next few episodes are going to be freaking awesome, because in this episode we do get to see Izuku fight, I cannot remember his name and I really don't feel like it's really important, the one with the purple spiky hair that confronted them before the sports competition began. And from what I can tell, it looks like his quirk is he's able to erase people's minds. Maybe it's like he can ask you a question and when you answer, he erases your mind or takes over your mind. Something like that, something to that extent. And I think his name is Shiro, was even willing to warn Izuku and tell him, like, don't talk to him, don't answer him when he asks you something. But Izuku was still, like, the dude asked him or said something so out of the way that it made Izuku answer him, and then his mind just went. So it looks like the next episode is going to be freaking awesome. I can't bring myself to believe that there's a possibility that Izuku would just like be out of the running already when he's gotten this far and gotten pushed this far and had so much help to get this far. I cannot believe that he would actually, this would be the end of it for him. So I feel like the next episode is going to be freaking amazing. I can't wait to see the fight between them two. I feel kind of bad for Uraraka because she has to fight Bakugo, but Bakugo is a whole nother story in itself. Like, he was sitting and eavesdropping, listening to Todoroki and Izuku talk about like Todoroki's past, and he heard Izuku pretty much tell Todoroki that he has had so many people supporting him and he's only gotten this far because of the support that he's had from other people, and he has to win because he can't let the people down that have been putting so much effort forth to help him. And I'm so excited. I'm so freaking excited about next week's episode because it looks like it's going to be freaking amazing. So I would love to hear how you guys feel about this episode. How do you feel about the way things turned out? How do you feel about like Todoroki's whole past and why he's doing what he's doing? How do you feel about how this fight is going to end? Because I'm so pumped. I'm so ready to see what is going to happen. But yes, so as always, please remember to comment, thumbs up, and subscribe. It helps me a whole lot. And this is TsubakiSwagg saying Jana.